Yo, what is Gucci everyone? My name is Ilya and I go by the artist name of Hector Cryo. In this video, we're gonna cover a few fundamental things in the music production. We're gonna touch on some technical sides of it, namely how to use EQs in certain occasions and actually talk about frequencies, how they work, and how to actually tame those dudes, right? If you want to go straight to that stuff, the actual juice of the video, I will leave the timestamps in the description below, or by the time you're already seeing the video, you'll see them on the screen already. But if you want to watch the whole thing like a boss, I want to introduce myself, right? Well, because, manners and stuff, yeah. So, about me. I've been in the electronic music field. Well, I don't really consider myself in the genres much. It's just that I mostly love making stuff that's electronic-ish, right? It's been now a year and a quarter. And up until this point, I've thought, well, I will be just making some music, thinking that it's gonna be some Gucci stuff, a bit better and better. But although we are progressing more and more as we make more stuff, and that's actually an essential thing that you keep at it. And after one release, the latest one, which is also on this channel, I thought, man, like, what then? Is it just gonna be like that? Just this one type of content, which is occasional, not that often, knowing that I'm pretty lazy dude myself, right? And then today morning, I got this request from one of my fans I would actually consider at this stage. His name is Rahul. I will link his profile, his Instagram profile in the description below so you can follow him, show him some love, like his stuff. He's pretty cool dude. I'm telling you. He gave me this suggestion, you know what? Maybe you should cover some of these things about technical side of music production, which I will go into right in a very short bit. And I was like, man, that's a good idea actually. Let me try that. Although, actually, that's a funny thing because I don't have a setup, I'm actually recording the voice in a microphone and I'm recording the screen with some sound on a stock like Windows capture thing. And then all of this editing thing, I mean, like I told you, first time it's just weird. Like, just bear with me, all right? We all start somewhere. And that's an important thing. Okay, all that rambling stuff is covered. Now let's actually get to the juice, the real content of the video, which is the first question: what are frequencies and how they work? Now, to understand frequencies, you guys gotta understand the meaning of oscillation. And you might be thinking, God damn, like another technical scary term. Well, yes, but until now it was a scary term. But if you think about it, imagine a speaker, right? Or a subwoofer. Now, when you push a sound, a certain sound like an 808 or a synth or some drums, right? The speaker, this pillow thingy, the circle one, it pushes in and out, like it kind of vibrates. And this principle of movement in and out is the oscillation. And the frequency is the amount of those oscillations per second. And you can also see in the visual representation on this graph how a sine wave is formed. It goes up and then down. So that is 1 hertz per second because frequency is calculated per second. So one cycle of this is one cycle of oscillation, I would say, is 1 hertz per second. Now, as soon as you increase the hertz, look what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna demonstrate to you. Just pay very close attention. I'm gonna put this on a very, very low and then go up the frequency spectrum. And you have to pay attention to the sound and see what's happening as I'm increasing the hertz. Starts happening. Now it's more audible because as the number of hertz increases, the tone starts to appear. And each tone produces a note, and so on and so forth. So that is how frequencies work. So that's first question done. I hope I covered that more or less. Now, the second question is how to cut the nasty loud frequencies. And for that, I have an example here on this sample. Let me just solo it. It's just a regular future bassy chord loop that I got from the Cymatics pack. Shout out to Cymatics. Awesome packs, by the way. No promotion here, just out of my own mouth. That was literally the first thing that popped into my eyes and ears, and I was like, well, you know what, I'm gonna use that for demo purposes. Alright, so why did I use this for the second question? Well, there is a big reason. No matter how well a sample is recorded, or in some cases could be a badly recorded sample, which are pretty hard to fix actually in post and mixing and all that, so you better have a really well recorded sample in the first place. But even then, you will have these so-called overtones. Now, overtones are those harmonics that are so pronounced that they kind of interfere with the fundamental tone. And if you pay attention to over here, when I play the sound, the loop again, now you see this? This is in G, written in G. And then when you look at this, even right here, pause here. You saw this fundamental tone here? It was in G because we have the sample recorded on a G note. So that fundamental tone, the G, is registered on this frequency, which is about 198 hertz. And everything that goes like after that, after the fundamental tone, we have harmonics. And as you saw, the harmonics after the fundamental tone, they're going downwards, the slope. And that's the natural progression of the sound, of the harmonics. Because if they go up, or even if they say all of the harmonics stay at the same level of the fundamental tone, it's technically noise. And noise is just occupying the entire frequency spectrum at pretty much the same level on each. Well, there is no really fundamental tone on noise. It's just noise. It's just all harmonics. Hence the term, right? So how do we actually find those overtones? Well, surprisingly easily, we don't use anything more than just a simple EQ device. On Ableton, of course, you use EQ8. It actually does a pretty amazing job at, well, all type of EQing that you really need. If you have on other DAWs, because I'm not really sure what other DAWs are you using, whether it's FL Studio, Cubase, Studio One, Logic. From what I know, EQs should have this function here, which is auditing. Now what this allows you to do, every time you select a certain part, a certain band within the frequency spectrum in the EQ, you hold it, and then you hear only the selection that you have selected. You audit that for things that we're gonna do right now. And the way how you cut these overtones, you first of all, you make sure that the Q is set to maximum so that you capture the exact frequency, and then you go at the very top right corner. So we start from the top end because this is the most probable area where we will be finding the overtones. Now here you have to be very, very careful and really rely on your ears to hear those overtones. So you hear this one is kind of beeping, it's hissing, it has this tone, kind of not nice, but it's not as loud, so we kind of ignoring it. Okay, there it goes. Kind of starts popping in. Yeah, this one. For example, this one. It's not as horrible, but it's a good example. So what you want to do is, instead of just killing it with a notch band like this, I recommend you use the bell curve and reduce it by about 4 dB. That's a rule of thumb amount. That way you're not really killing the frequency, and at the same time you're making sure that the fundamental one stays always up top and grabs the maximum attention, and that these harmonics are relatively lower. Because what happens if you kill a frequency? Like, let me give you an example. Let's find another bad boy. Like maybe this one? So we reduce it, but then what if I say, you know what, I want to kill it? Okay, well, you killed it. It sounds okay. If you have really well-trained ears, you might feel like there is something missing, just a very, very tiny bit. But if you decrease the Q, you feel like you want to just really hammer down that frequency, pay attention to what happens to the entire sample. It sounds a little weird, right? It sounds like it's really thin. It's like coming out of whatever. It's not natural. And that's why I do not advise you use the notch band to cut out those overtones, in order not to kill the sample entirely, and instead just use on a max Q bell curve to just decrease it. Let's find another one. Just why not? Because it's fun. It's actually a pretty fun and relaxing thing to do when mixing. You're just sweeping and then finding the nasty ones. That's the you hear that one? It's really piercing the ear. This one you might want to decrease it a little bit more because it was really, really pronouncing. Now here's the difference. It will be very, very subtle, but it's cleaner, right? So that's how you deal with the overtones. Very, very simple trick, but it will save you so much. It will actually create a bit more room for other elements that will go in together with the one you've just worked on. And that leads me to question number 3, which is how to manage the frequencies of more than one sample so that they don't interfere with each other, right? Because in some of the time, we'll have an instrument playing, like this one for example. You really like it, but you want something to go along with it. When you have something else playing alongside the sound that you want, for example this vocal chop. Now, you might think, well, they sound pretty fine, right? Well, and I would tell you, not really. You might ask me why. Well, because they're kind of occupying a very similar frequency range. Let me just pull this up down a bit to this. Pay attention here. It's about a bit below 1 kHz on the vocal chops, and also a bit above it. And also, the same kind of spectrum is occupied here by the guitar. And you also see a little bit of above 1 kHz for the guitars. And that is taking up space. And that's not good for the good quality mix. Now, how do you actually manage those? I recently found this one technique. I don't remember the name of a guy. It was on Instagram, but it was a really, really easy technique. So what you do, for example, you want to put these vocal chops a bit up front, and you want the guitars playing at pretty much the same level that you want, but they should feel like they're in the background instead of being up front, right? Because you have to give some sound a focal point and others should stay in the background, which is one of the essentials in a good mixing. So anyway, you want to say have this up front. What do? You pick certain frequency ranges that are really pronouncing well to amplify those, and I already prepared some, so to save you some time. So let's say that these ones are the ones that you want them to be more pronounced, and if you compare them already, it's a little bit pronounced, it's good, but then there's still this guitar. So what you do then, you copy this one and then put it into here on the guitar, which would look like this at first when you put it, but then you scale negatively to 100, and I'm pretty sure you have something very similar in other DAWs. Correct me if I'm wrong though, I will be actually glad to help you with that if that's not the case, but I believe it should be in this case, ultimately. So the result is, you hear how the vocal chops are all of a sudden much better sounding, they're much clearer already, and we didn't do that much. Like, check the comparison. Check this out, check this out. Like, they're kind of the same sounding, but then you enable those fixing ones. There is automatically a little bit more room. I mean, of course you could like exaggerate this a little bit to taste, and there you have it. That is exactly how you manage the frequencies on more than one sound, so that both sound just the way that you want. Now, of course, you could use sidechain, but that's a whole other topic on sidechain, because there are some nuances and techniques how to properly sidechain. If you want a video on that, and I will gladly make it, but if you do want it, leave a comment below and I will get to it. So that's pretty much that. We just covered through 3 questions, which were: what are frequencies, how they work, how to tame the bad boys, the overtones, and how to manage the frequencies well so that you get the good ones from more than one signal in a way that they don't interfere with each other. And yes, it was a little bit, sloppy. It was not professional, I know. But if you have made it till the very end of this video, you are actual boss. Like, props to you. I hope you learned something. I know that it's also a pretty common topic. You can really find it easily elsewhere, but I hope I have provided you some sort of value. And yeah, if you liked it, just hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. What do you think about it? I will respond to you as quickly as possible. And if you have any ideas, once again, drop them in the comments. I will get to it. So thanks for watching. Stay Gucci. Peace.